People may forget what you said and what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. In today's video, we're going to be covering a lot of the terms, a lot of the acronyms that you see in a lot of prepping videos and articles dealing with preparedness, because a lot of these terms and acronyms can be confusing, and we're going to jump right into those right after the channel intro. Remember, you are ultimately responsible for protecting yourself and for providing for yourself. Live your life with honor and integrity, and always be the wolf hunter. Don't be the sheep, and never be the wolf. When I first got into prepping and trying to learn as much as I could about it, I would see all these terms and acronyms used by these other preppers, and they would really confuse me. So here's a list of the ones that I see the most, and hopefully these will help you out. Let's start with teotwawki, or the end of the world as we know it. The magic words here for most preppers is the as we know it part. Many preppers don't actually expect to survive the actual end of the world. Now let's go with SHTF, or the stuff hits the fan. This means any kind of event that causes a true emergency. It can range anywhere from the loss of a job, which is usually called a personal SHTF, all the way up to a nationwide or worldwide collapse of society. Next is WTSHTF, or when the stuff hits the fan, which is just another variation of SHTF. Next, the good, or the G.O.D, or the get out of dodge, and this is pretty self-explanatory. Next, let's talk about the B.O.B, or the B.O.B, or the bug out bag, and this is the bag that you have to help you get out of wherever you are. Also, sometimes it's called a 72-hour bag, and it will usually contain just enough supplies to get you by for a few days while you reach your safety point. Next, let's talk about the I.N.C.H bag, or I.N.C.H bag, or the I am never coming home bag. And this bag will usually be much larger than the bug out bag. This is a bag for people who feel like they need to permanently leave to get to a safer place, and it will usually contain much more survival gear than a regular bug out bag. Next, let's talk about the G.H.B, or the get home bag, and this bag is usually pretty similar to the bug out bag. It will contain items that you will need to get home should you have to walk on foot back home from wherever you were at. Next, let's talk about the MOLLE system, or the modular lightweight load carrying equipment. And this is the backpack that's currently used by the military, and it's now very popular with preppers. It's spelled M-O-L-L-E, but it is pronounced MOLLE. With all the straps, it allows people to attach extra gear and stuff like that to their backpacks. Next, let's talk about the ALICE system, or the ALICE, which means all-purpose lightweight individual carrying equipment. And this is a backpack that used to be used by the military. It has a frame to assist with carrying heavier loads, and it's still very popular with many preppers because of its ruggedness and affordability. Next, let's talk about the B.O.B, or the bug out vehicle. And this is a vehicle that somebody plans on bugging out in. Now, it's usually a 4x4 vehicle that can go off-road and carry gears and supplies and stuff like that. However, a B.O.V can be a bicycle, a motorcycle, a wheelbarrow, a boat, or anything else that somebody can afford. And a person will usually choose a B.O.V to suit their needs depending on whether they live near rugged land or water or whatever. Next, let's talk about the B.O.L, or the bug out location. And this is usually an area to escape danger. It can usually mean anything from a campsite to an actual retreat location. Then let's go ahead and talk about a retreat, or a retreat location. And this is usually a pre-developed area well prepared for protection and sustaining life during SHTF. And many times it will be far away from the city. It's also sometimes called a doomstead instead of a homestead. Next, let's talk about a MAG, or MAG, or a mutual aid group. And this is where different groups of preppers make an agreement to support each other should SHTF happen. A typical agreement will include the option for one group to go to the other group's retreat location should the first group's retreat become overrun or too dangerous to remain. Next, let's talk about an EMP, or electromagnetic pulse. And these can be caused by sunstorms, or a nuke being set off by an enemy in the atmosphere, or something like that. Next, let's talk about a CME, or coronal mass ejection. And this is a type of a sunstorm that sends out the electromagnetic waves that can fry our electronics. Next, let's talk about a HEMP, or a HEMP, which is a
high altitude electromagnetic pulse. And this is where an enemy can detonate a nuclear weapon high in our atmosphere to send down the electromagnetic pulses that can fry our electronics. And an EMP, or a high altitude EMP, will cause a GDE, or a grid down event. Next, let's talk about ROL, or WROL, without rule of law. And this is when society collapses and there's no government or police forces to maintain order. Next, let's talk about EDC, or everyday carry. And this is the stuff that you carry with you every day. Your wallet, your car keys, your small flashlight, your self-defense weapon, your cell phone, etc. Next, let's talk about SOPs, or standard operating procedures. And this is the list of rules and guidelines that many businesses, law enforcement agencies, and the such will adapt to guide their day-to-day activities. And this is important for prepper groups to adopt also, as they'll spell out how tasks and chores are assigned, how differences and arguments will be settled, and at which point a troublesome member will be kicked out of the group, etc. Next, let's talk about combat multiplier. And that's anything that makes you and your fighting ability more effective. Night vision is an example of a combat multiplier. And having semi-automatic weapons instead of single-shot weapons is another example of a combat multiplier. So there you have the ones that I know of, and I hope this really helped you out. And if you found this video to be useful, then please give it a thumbs up and comment below, and also please consider subscribing to this channel, as I plan on making many more videos down the road as time permits. Anyways folks, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.